Wow, it is almost the end of 2020, and what an interesting year that was. I hope everyone had a freaking fantastic Christmas or holiday season, whatever it is that you celebrate. It is almost New Year's, so that means it's time for a 2020 wrap-up. Alright, so there's no beating around the bush. 2020 was kind of a poop show of a year, but it wasn't all bad. I mean, if it wasn't for 2020, I probably wouldn't have made this YouTube channel, and I kind of like it. So for that, I am very glad and thankful. I also had the chance to study a lot of different art techniques and advance my art style. And I got to talk to you guys a little bit more than usual. That being said, over on my Instagram, I wanted you guys to ask me some questions. And then in this episode, I'm going to answer those questions. All right, so first question, Jay from Instagram asks, which character you like most from your challenge? All are beautiful, but which one is the best? Okay, so preface to that is my challenge was my Drawcember challenge, in which I drew a girl every single day of the month from the 1st to the 25th. And the reason I did that challenge was in awareness of violence against women, and I just wanted to draw really cool, powerful women. Okay, so as far as the challenge goes, my favorite, remember, this is me personally, in my personal opinion, my favorite was Catherine the Great from the series The Great, and you can see that right here. So there's a few reasons why this one is my favorite. It's because the reference I used was like an actual person because it was a live action TV show, but I feel like I stylized her into like my style quite well. There's also the lighting factor, which I think is very nice, and all in all, her expression is pretty cool. So it's my favorite. Plus, The Great was one of my favorite shows from 2020 because it's just so funny and great, and Elle Fanning did a great job. Next question. Sarah Nervine asks, what was your first piece that you were really happy with when you first started? Okay, so my favorites change. Like, I'm trying to think back to my state of mind when I was younger and actually had finished a piece that I was happy with, because I was not happy with a lot of my pieces back then, honestly. Probably the first piece that I was truly happy with was this one. And I mean, there's no real rhyme or reason as to why that one was my favorite. I just really liked how it turned out, and as time has progressed, I still think it's kind of cool. So, I mean, I probably could do a much better job now than I did then, but I really liked it. Sorry, she was acting up with the other dog. Kaya, why you gotta interrupt me when I'm in the middle of filming, huh? Sarth Morales asks, what are your work plans for 2021? And then adds that they love my art. Why, thank you. What are my plans for 2021? I don't have a whole lot planned because 2021 is still not set in stone. So normally I would be going to events and like Comic-Cons and all this stuff, but a lot of them have actually canceled 2021, or they've like pushed back to the very end of 2021, and we have no idea what COVID is going to be like. So I'm not putting any of that on the table. Like, that might happen, but it might not happen. So currently the only thing set in stone for 2021 is I'm going to be teaching with Sin Studio, which is a art school based in Montreal. I'm going to be doing Zoom classes. I'm going to be continuing to work on my personal art and having my personal shop, which you guys can find in the link below, and do YouTube. And as for content, I like to surprise you guys as to what I'm gonna do next, because I always change my mind. I say that kind of like as a disclaimer, because I don't want to say one thing and then like change my mind down the road and then have you guys be like, well, wait, I thought you were gonna do this and this and this, and I'll be like, oh, I changed my mind, I'm sorry. So content-wise, that's a surprise. Next up, I have Kay Debujo with a Spanish question. So it's been a hot minute since I took Spanish classes. I'm gonna try to read this in a Spanish tone. ¿Cómo conseguiste tu lindo estilo para dibujar? Por cierto, me gustan tus dibujos. My Spanish is really rusty, and I apologize to all the Spanish listeners who just had to hear me say that. I'm so sorry. Which translates to, how did you get your cute drawing style? By the way, I like your drawings. Well, thank you. I'm glad you like my drawings. As for my drawing style, And probably why it looks cute is because for the longest time, I was actually striving to be a Disney artist. And I still think that would be a really cool career path. It's just that's not what ended up happening. But I was mentored by a Disney artist, and I did emulate the Disney style for a long time. So my style, I think, is kind of a marriage of Disney and anime and maybe a bit of like French comic style. So put that all together and you have my cute style. Next up, Goatman Forever asks, what is your favorite novel? So, I mean, I hope no one thinks less of me for this. Oh my god, the dogs. Look at him. He's a pig. He's being so troublesome. Oh, he's so fat. Oh, that dog was heavy. Okay, what was the question? What is my favorite novel? Okay, so I hope people don't think less of me for this, but actually my favorite novel, I mean, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone comes really close, but my absolute favorite is probably Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And yeah, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis, The Chronicles of Narnia. That was my favorite. But Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or the Sorcerer's Stone, wherever it is you're from, does come in very closely. It's probably kind of almost a tie. Funky Astronaut asks, do you like beans? I do in fact like beans. I especially like these beans. Only thing is that they're high in protein, which makes you think they're healthy, but they're also like super high in sugar, which is not healthy. Brodo Bagging Baggins asks, can you do some more food on your Instagram? For those who don't know, my other Instagram is kind of like a food porn account. So I do a lot of baking, and I go through phases where sometimes the only thing I post is baking. Sometimes I post travel photos, sometimes I post just fun little musings, but a lot of times it's just baking. Case in point, this is my Instagram feed over there. To answer your question, yes, I will do more baking. I actually have done quite a bit of baking. I just haven't actually taken the time to post them on my Instagram. So what was it? I recently made gingerbread cookies, which you guys saw in the last video and which I will now take a bite of. Only thing is that gingerbread cookies aren't really pretty. I really like to make my cooking / baking look quite aesthetic. I'm a bit of an aesthete that way. I did make it into a gingerbread house, which I took some photos of. And I also made, what else did I make recently? Oh, I made some other things. So long story short, I get a bit passionate when I talk about baking. I'm sorry. Yes, I will be doing more food on my Instagram. You can't stop me. It's just gonna happen. Next up, Akshay is asking, how do you deal with the nervousness of a wide audience looking at and critiquing your art? Well, this can go many different ways, because if you have a supportive audience, then, I mean, you're not really gonna get a lot of criticism, because the people who follow you on your Instagram, on your Facebook and all that stuff, a lot of them are incredibly supportive and only ever say nice things. However, if your art ever gets reposted on Reddit, I do not advise reading the comments, because yeah, people are like, a bit more cruel. Next question is, how was your art journey? How you become a celebrity? Ooh, someone thinks I'm a celebrity. My art journey was similar to a lot of people's. I started drawing when I was younger. Even back when I was like 4 or 5 years old, my teachers held on to my artworks thinking like, ooh, she's really good. She's gonna be famous one day. I'm gonna just hold on to this. So I really liked drawing from an early age, and I had so much support from an early age that it kind of like encouraged me to keep going with it. And eventually I ended up going to art school, got my degree, ended up mentoring with a whole bunch of talented, incredibly skilled professionals. Some of the most poignant aspects of my art career, I guess, was when I went viral, thanks to a Tumblr post, and especially thanks to Thomas Sanders, because he reblogged some of my art, and that really exposed my art to like a broader audience. And I was lucky enough to work with a few writers and comic publishers. And that's a lot of stuff to say that isn't like directly connected at all, but it is all part of my art journey, I guess, and how I got to where I am today. Sora321 asks, Which part do you think gives most detail, uniqueness to a face? For me, it is the nose. For me, it's the eyes, and that is why I've done like a whole series on drawing eyes, because I think the eyes are the windows to the soul, so you can get the most out of a character by looking at their eyes. That being said, the nose is like the slept on superpower, because a nose can also give you a lot of detail about someone's kind of like personality and character. So you'll notice that when I actually did my eye drawings, I oftentimes also hinted at the nose because it is such an important part, so you're not wrong there. In general, I would say this triangle is the most important part of a face, and adding detail to a face and adding character to a face. Q+A, aka Pauline, asks, favorite place you've traveled to? Why would you ask such a hard question? The most favorite place of mine I've traveled to. Okay, so that has a few different aspects to it. So probably my most favorite place that I've ever traveled. See, that's hard because ever since I was little, I always wanted to go to England and Australia. So those are my favorite in the sense that I've always wanted to go, and going did not disappoint. Like, it lived up to all my expectations and dreams. Japan is always a pleasure to visit because you never get old with Japan. Like, Japan is just constantly new. Every day is something new and exciting. Portugal, France, Italy, they're very laid back and just really nice to enjoy yourself. I would say probably my most favorite place to visit though is Japan, just because it never really gets boring. There's always something new to do, and the culture is just so pure. And they also try to protect their culture, which is great. Specifically Tokyo and Kyoto. And Q+A also asks, what is my favorite painting? And I'm gonna assume you're talking about like famous fine art paintings, in which case, I just realized my Christmas tree lights weren't on this entire time, so there you go. So my favorite painting, okay, so the one that's coming to mind right now is when I visited the Louvre in Paris. There's this one painting, it's called The Young Martyr, and it was painted by Paul Delaroche. It is the romantic style of painting, which I think is really cool, and I haven't done a lot of. I would love to do more of that style. And when it comes to the pre-Raphaelites, I don't necessarily have like a favorite painting, but I do have a favorite painter. I'm a huge Dixie fan. Like, I think Dixie was one of the best pre-Raphaelite painters of all time. And next up, Akash asks, how do you create facial expressions? I want to learn it. Well, first of all, I would say check out my previous videos that discuss drawing the eyes and like drawing the best eyes ever. Because really, what makes it the best eyes ever is the expression that develops the character and expresses who the character is. So yeah, I would say watch that. But aside from that, something that I learned from some of the like most famous Disney artists of all time is to actually like make the face you're drawing. So if you're drawing an expression, it can sometimes help if you yourself make that expression while you're drawing it, because you kind of like can feel the muscles and like feel what stretches and what pulls, and then you can kind of translate that to the expression that you're drawing. That's a little tip for you. And that is all the questions that you guys have asked me. So thank you so much for asking those wonderful questions, and I hope you guys had a really awesome holiday. I hope you have a fantastic new year, and I mean, it's gonna be 2021. 2020 is officially going to be behind us in like just a couple days time. If not, you're already watching this and 2020 is in the past. So 2020, it's been a slice, but it's time to move on. And welcome 2021. I'm sure it'll be better. I'm sure it'll be great. Optimistic. And all I can think of when I say woohoo 2021 is this show that used to be on Adult Swim called C-Lab 2021. Coincidence? I think not. Anyway, thank you guys so much again. It's been an absolute pleasure doing this YouTube channel and interacting with you guys, and I hope to continue to see you here, and thank you so much for all your support. Happy New Year. Also, don't forget that you can check me out on my social media, which is down below. I have Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, and I now have a Pinterest as well.